What's up, guys? Barry Game here, back with some more Idle Heroes, and today we want to talk about a very specific item that has come out at the very beginning of this week, but we haven't really talked about it, and it has to do with one artifact in particular. Where is it in this list? Does it actually go down the bottom? It does. So we have the Scissors of Conviction. Now, by default, it is giving attack, HP, and control immunity. Not amazing stats, not horrible stats, just very middle of the road. However, once you start upgrading this, it does get a little bit interesting here. So if you take it to a Splendid version of the original, you're still getting that attack, HP, and control immunity, but you get this skill called End of Pain. At the end of each round, select 2 random enemies and replicate up to 2 random attribute buffs that enemy has from each of them to yourself. So every single scissor you have on an ally is going to take any type of buffs the boss is getting, replicate it, and take it for themselves. The original remaining duration and 30% of the attribute buff effects will be reserved. So that's pretty crazy because you can continuously take more and more of the buffs as time goes on. So just by default, if you're going against enemies that have really crazy amount of buffs, this thing is really good. However, you know how we got those deific artifacts and everything. They are now, I think it's in the functional? Yep, functional version. You can now add one of the exotic grimoire with one of these scissors and you make a Shears of Destiny. So this basically keeps pretty much the same thing, 12, 12, 12 up to 16, 16, 16, while also giving 10% shapeshift immunity rate. I don't know how kind of valid that is or how useful that is overall. It does feel a little niche. I wish they would have added something else to it besides shapeshift immunity. But okay, but it does make something very, very powerful, and it is called Shears of Destiny Splendid when you do take it to the Ormus Workshop. So when you max this out all the way, you're getting 32% attack, HP, and control immunity, and then this is where it becomes very relevant. You are completely immune to shapeshifting. Who definitely wants this for something like Void Campaign? I do. So this name got changed a little bit, but it has a very similar effect. Cleansing of Sin. At the end of each round, select 2 random enemies and replicate up to 2 random attribute buffs from each of them to yourself and allies on the same line. So the difference here is not only are you getting the buff, your allies are also getting that same exact buff. The original remaining duration and 30% of the attribute buff effect will be reserved. So that's really powerful because that's up to 4 buffs that your entire team in your row is going to get. So if you have this on a back row hero, 4 heroes have a chance to get, that's like 16 buffs getting played out. Pretty strong. But oh, don't wait, that is not all. We have additional effects. Afterward, there is an 80% chance of removing 1 random attribute reduction effect from all of your allies on the same line, and respectively, an 80% chance of removing 1 attribute buff from the enemy in the same position as yourself. So you know how you like Lord of your Aspen always uses his active skill and hits the target opposite him. That's going to do that too. So not only are you getting huge amounts of buffs that you're stealing from, or copying, I guess you'd say, replicating from the enemy, you're also able or have a chance to remove attribute reduction effects from allies on your team, and also removing an attribute buff from the enemy. So that's kind of cool. Granted, if you want to like keep replicating a really cool buff on the enemy, I don't know if that's necessarily as good. I honestly feel like, so I need to go back over here. I honestly feel like there would be times where I would prefer to have this, because again, oh, actually this one does give it to self and allies on the same line. Oh, I actually didn't realize the scissors had that too. I thought it was just the shears. There's probably going to be times where like the enemy will get a stacking buff, and if for some reason that buff isn't strong enough to like either kill you with too much attack attribute buffs, or like maybe they get like armor buffs and like you really want to get rid of that stack so that they don't have as much armor and you do more damage, then I feel like this might be the play. because again, you're having a chance to remove attribute reduction effects from your team, which is powerful in itself. I just don't know if I necessarily like the removing a random attribute buff from the enemy if it's something you want to keep stealing. So there's definitely options for each one of these. These both have potential of being extremely powerful, and I immediately think one of the best places this is probably going to be used for is places where there is a very powerful boss. You know who has like one of the most powerful buffs probably? Star Expedition. Yeah, I can't actually go into it right now or participate because I just joined a random guild because I haven't been actually participating in it too much. But you know, Star Expedition could actually be pretty good. What this could also kind of be good for, I feel like, is maybe in PvP. However, the downside of PvP is this artifact doesn't have a ton of great stats. Like, it's got some decent ones. Attack HP. Control immunity is, of course, good, especially if you're in a PvP meta full of control. The immunity to shape-shifting, not as big. If it was like something like stun or twine, oh my gosh. If this thing was immunity to twine, it would be like best in slot probably for PvP. So that's the point where you don't need S-tier heroes at that point. Yeah, I don't know. This does seem like it would be crazy though. For stacking up against the Void Invasion bosses too, this might have a very big influence. I've yet to push, so what we could do is we could build a couple of these and maybe see if it takes effect against this boss right here. I don't know what type of buffs he has, but it could be something worthwhile to try building. Maybe, I think you can get, what, 2 of these this event? Maybe one of them. We'll have to see how that breaks down. I just don't know if I have the origin artifacts. Honestly, that's probably something I'm going to have to grind out, is some origin artifacts to actually test some things out. But it definitely has potential. Let me know what you guys think the overall like potential of this can be. I could imagine having 6 of these on your team might be a little busted, because not only are you replicating a ton of buffs to your team, there's also a pretty good chance of removing attribute reduction effects on your team quite a bit, as well as removing any buffs on the enemy, so that they're just refreshing lower stacks of buffs. They're not getting crazy stacks built up. This could be crazy. The only downside, like I said, is the raw stats aren't amazing. There's no damage reduction, and right now in the game, if you don't have damage reduction and all damage reduction, you might as well just melt your character. Granted, we do have Unbending Will, and maybe this has enough that like you get armor stacks or something like that, or just crazy attack stats. There's a lot of potential in this, especially when you then also consider adding one other hero to your team, which could be very influential. That is Doppelganger Natalia, because remember, where is it? Is it the basic attack on this one? I think. Where is it? Right here. Deals extra damage for every 1 attribute reduction effect the target has. The damage portion isn't great. Wait, where's their part that is it her active? Yeah. So then allies with Bright Blessing for 2 rounds, there's 100% chance to replicate 2 random attribute reduction effects from self to enemies, which I guess that kind of works against. Because this one, there's a 100% chance to replicate 2 random attribute buffs from self to allies with Bright Blessing. So that's even more stacks. I don't know. This could get a little out of control. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let me know what you guys think about this new artifact. It could be absolutely insane. I'll see you guys next time.